Come here, just going online for a quick update. I'm literally just out of a very long, what's called a Dáil Reform Committee meeting, which started at 3:30 and just finished now at about 9:15. Unfortunately, the government so far is planning to repeat the outrageous stroke they tried last to treat Michael Lowry's group, which has signed up for government, as if they're in opposition. So people remember we objected very forcefully. They couldn't go ahead on Wednesday, and then on Thursday there seemed to be an agreement that the Dáil Reform Committee would meet and would come up with a solution which sees a clear distinction between government and opposition and come up with a proposal which is agreeable to both government and opposition. So then we had our first meeting last Friday. There wasn't much progress. Then we met again Monday. Then there was talk, and we brought forward proposals about how this could be resolved very simply by recognising the Lowry group as part of the government and them getting speaking time as they should get from government time. But then there was talk on Monday that the government would have a proposal, fine. So we agreed to meet today when the government proposal would come out. We were due to meet at 3 o'clock today. The government proposal didn't come in until 2:35, so 25 minutes before the meeting. The meeting was then delayed till 3:30. But the government proposal is effectively a repeat of what they tried last week. The government proposal says the Lowry group should be treated as an informal, unaligned technical group, and that the Lowry group should get leaders' questions and priority questions, and other issues should be resolved later. Leaders' questions and priority questions are things that are for the opposition. They're for the opposition to hold the government to account. They allow us to question the Taoiseach of the day. They allow us to question the ministers about the key issues. There's plenty of opportunities for opposition TDs to speak. There's plenty of backbench TDs to speak. There's plenty of opportunities for backbench TDs to ask questions of the Taoiseach, ask questions of the minister. But these slots are for the opposition. Hiya, CDTBT97. I get too much airtime for a party polling at 2%. You probably just think that because you keep watching my TikToks. Like, you don't have to read my TikToks. Watch my TikToks, okay? But what is happening here is that the government is pulling a disgraceful stroke to try and say that the Michael Lowry group is part of the opposition when it's as clear as day that they're part of the government. They negotiated a deal collectively, together. The consequences of that deal is that they have 4 ministers, including the Healy Ray, as part of the government. There's reference in the programme for government to others, not ministers, getting support from, getting resources and so on from the government, clearly referring to Lowry, Barry Heenahan, Danny Healy-Rae and Gillian Toole. And yet they're trying to pretend that they're not part of the government. I mean, Michael Lowry at the meeting tonight said, if it wasn't for us, there'd be no government. We stepped up so there'd be a government. As in, yeah, you stepped up, you negotiated to join an awful government with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. But now they're trying to have their cake and eat it, and the government is trying to facilitate them. What is really, really clear is that the government, Simon Harris and Micheál Martin last week said, no, we don't have any deal with Michael Lowry about this. That's just not credible anymore. Why are they bending over backwards, trying to create this new fake category of unaligned, neither government nor opposition, but really opposition, to facilitate Lowry? Why are they doing this? There was a lot of talk at the meeting of, the government chief whip has been working so hard over the past week to find a solution. But she wasn't talking to us. She wasn't talking to any members of the opposition about this. There wasn't any attempt to find a compromise. So who was she talking to? And I think the government was likely dealing with Lowry the whole time. The other actually very interesting thing that happened at the meeting just about half an hour ago is Michael Lowry said, you should read the OPLA legal advice. That's very clear. And we haven't gotten the OPLA legal advice. We've been trying to get the OPLA legal advice for ages. And we haven't been given it. Then Lowry was asked to clarify that. And eventually he tried to say he wasn't talking about the OPLA legal advice. He was talking about their interpretation of what the OPLA said at a meeting. Who knows? So it's really scandalous. To be clear, they weren't willing to compromise at all. We were saying, yeah, no problem. These people, they're a group. They should be a group within government. They should have a right to come to the Business Committee, Dáil Reform Committee. They have the right to speak, of course, no problem. There's no compromise from the government, simply saying, no, they're not going to be in the government. They're going to be in the opposition benches, and they're going to get leaders' questions or priority questions, and not given a guarantee they won't even get other stuff, private members' bills, and other things that are for the opposition. I also said at the meeting, well, sure, if you give Lowry backbench government TDs leaders' questions, Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael backbenchers be looking for it, and then Fianna Fáil backbenchers came in to say, yeah, we will. So again, trying to take more stuff away from the opposition, giving it to the government. The other thing, again, like we asked again and again and again, what does this mean in terms of the allocation of committee positions? Will the Lowry Group be getting committee positions from the opposition side? They wouldn't answer, but clearly the answer is yes. So it's really rotten what the government is proposing. All the talk of agreement a week ago, which was to get them through and get them Martin elected as Taoiseach, is now gone. A lot of talk of we're the majority, trying to ram it through effectively. It was just very, very bad. So it was a very poor meeting with a very poor outcome. It went round and round in circles because, we're not willing to compromise on some basics. We compromise on a lot of things, but we're not willing to compromise on the basics. And Michael Lowry's group is a government group. They're not in opposition. They shouldn't be speaking they shouldn't be taking opposition slots like leaders' questions and priority questions, and they should be treated as government backbenchers. And the government and Lowry was explicit. He said, I'm not going to compromise on getting leaders' questions and priority questions. It wasn't a good meeting. It just went round and round in reality. We agreed to meet again tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. And that's a meeting that will be on an informal basis. So there won't be a vote happen, which is good from our point of view because they have a majority. So they can just ram it through. Whereas we want to have the maximum amount of time, to have the maximum amount of discussion to see if a solution can be found before they just ram it through. So there won't be a vote until next Tuesday. We'll see. I'm not optimistic about this. I haven't read Rory Stewart's Rory Stewart's book. Sorry. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not optimistic. It would require a big shift in position from the government. Maybe overnight they'll have a revelation and come in and say, oh yeah, we realise, of course Lowry's in the government. Of course he is. Sure. And it'll take government time. But without that, there is not going to be an agreement. And then I think what will be important is that the opposition stands together and doesn't accept this stroke, stands up against it. And if necessary, we will have a repetition of what happened last week. That's what will be necessary. Let's hope that they see sense. Let's say they have agreement. Let's hope they have, respect for the basic rules of parliamentary democracy and the role of the opposition, and they stop trying to squeeze out the opposition by inserting Lowry into it, creating this fake opposition with a kind of recognised status. Let's see. I'll try and, I'm sure, do something tomorrow and update people on what's going on. Are you still on holidays? Yeah, well, there's still no Dáil. It was at this Dáil Reform meeting all day and working all day, but there's no Dáil. We argued that there should be a Dáil this week. We voted for the Dáil to be on this week, and they took their holidays. Thank you, Benjamin. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Yeah. Sorry, I know I didn't answer any questions, but this one where I didn't promise to answer questions, and this one wasn't a Q&A. This was just an update on that, and I just happened to answer a couple of random questions that came across my feed. But I will be back. There will be more questions. More questions answered. I think this should be made a big deal in social media. People's, Lowry's lackeys, all that stuff. Make people aware of what's happening. The government's attempting this really, really rotten stroke. Apply the pressure on them. Good luck. Thanks a lot.